Michael Trainer, O'Neill, Dennis Donovan, Steve Lopez, Calvin Mary Scatino, thank you for coming. This is our public hearing on the budget that was rejected. We've had a meeting on Monday night, and we proposed a $150,000 reduction in the town's line items. Specifically, we cut the insurance, electricity, and contingency funds by $75,000. We eliminated a $20,000 from the capital line item that was supposed to purchase a town vehicle for the building inspector and the zoning officer. We reduced the police department salary line item by $32,000. Town hall salaries by $21,000, which will end up in a sixth position being cut in the last 4 years, and the library by $2,000. So tonight, what we'd like to hear from the public is comment about the proposed budget that is going to be at referendum next Wednesday in the amount of $14,898,814. So we ask, most of you are old hat at this, you just come on up, give us your name and your address, address your remarks to the audience, to us, whatever you're comfortable doing. We're not going to engage in a debate, but we will try to fill in the gaps on any information that might be missing from the things that have been made public up to now. All right, so without further ado, whoever wants to go first. That's why I don't use it.
Is this on?
No.
Is that better? No.
My name is Peggy Adler. I live at 5 Liberty Street here in Clinton. Bonnie Pudum has been an employee of the town of Clinton for 24 years. Her salary in fiscal 2010-11 was $38,541, which included pay she received clerking for boards and commissions above and beyond her job at the First Selectman's office. At the Board of Finance meeting on Monday night, it was stated that Bonnie's job would be cut from full-time, 32.5 hours a week, to part-time, 16 hours a week, and her hourly wage would be cut by 25%. I am opposed to this decimation of a town hall employee's income and a resultant loss of benefits, such as medical coverage for her and her husband. Following the defeat of the town budget referendum last week, the police department was told by the Board of Selectmen to cut $29,000 from our budget. At our commission meeting, prior to the Board of Finance's meeting Monday night, we voted to cut the $29,000 as requested, to which we added an additional $3,000 for a total of $32,000. For with the impending retirement of Major John Santry and other recent retirements within the police department and subsequent promotions and hires, it became evident that this is how much will be saved in salaries during the coming fiscal year. I had thought that perhaps this additional giveback by the PD might be used to increase at least some of the hours anticipated being cut from Bonnie's time card, and thus was shocked by the arrogance and greed of the posse that was present from the Henry Carter Hall Library when they asked that the additional $3,000 be relinquished by the PD be given to them. It has been said over the years that it is political suicide to criticize the Henry Carter Hall Library. Well, if that be the case, then at age 70, I am ready to take the chance. The Henry Carter Hall Library is not a town agency. It is a private trust whose board of trustees are chosen from within, not by appointment or election by the citizenry of Clinton, as are those of us who serve on our town's boards and commissions. The library receives over $1.5 million from the town each year, but does not have the same line item expenditure accountability as do all of the town's own agencies. So where I can tell you item by item what was spent by the police department for what or for whom or on what date it was paid, it is not possible to do the same for the library. They are cut a check once a month by the town's finance office for 1/12 of the money they receive from the town for any given fiscal year. And a few years ago, when I requested a printout of their line item expenditures 10.5 months into that fiscal year, I was presented with one piece of paper with text that ran a mere 2/3 down the page. When I inquired, where is the itemization of your line item expenditures, I was advised by the library director that no such information was available. This past year, Park and Rec beach pass income was $17,250, and as required, every year, it was turned over to the town of Clinton's general fund. Likewise, the town harbor's management income from dockage fees topped $60,000 and also had to be turned over to the town's general fund. But when HCH raised some $31,000, they kept it all for themselves with total disregard for where it might be needed for the town that bought them a building and maintains it on their behalf while renting it back to them for a mere $1 a year.
Go. I'm on your side.
Monday night, the HCH folks also lied. They touted the fact that 13 people came forward and spoke on their behalf at the earlier budget hearing and denied that they even sought their support. Yet there was a so-called information sheet given out to their patrons early this year comparing their budget per capita with those of the police department and the DPW. So I ask you, if an armed intruder breaks into your house in the middle of the night and holds your family hostage, is a member of the HCH Board of Trustees going to come to your rescue? And if a member of your family has a heart attack during a major snowstorm, is someone from the HCH Board of Trustees going to come to plow your road so that your first responder, who is a member of our police department, followed by our fire department's emergency rescue squad, can come to your aid? So we are here tonight with a valued, so here we are tonight with a valued member of our town hall staff being cut below a livable wage, while the HCH personnel could care less. Do not let these folks tell you that anyone who criticizes them is against libraries and books, for I wrote and or illustrated more than 24 children's books for New York publishers and one in Boston as well for over 20 years, and my own home contains walls and walls and walls of books. So now all I ask is that you please think about what I have said and then decide what is fair.
Just a reminder that we can't add to the budget after it's been rejected. So if the next referendum fails, it has to be cut. It gets reduced more. It doesn't have any way to have anything added to it, which means we need to remember that our revenues in the town are set the way we budgeted them. We can't add to those revenues. So you have to keep in mind that we already have an appropriated surplus in our revenue line item. And hopefully, luckily, we haven't had to touch that over the last few years, but we're getting to the point now where serious reductions that are going to affect services in the town, not just the library or the police department, but the town as a whole, are in a precarious position. Who's next?
Good evening, my name is Bruce Farmer, and I've been a resident of this town since 1983. And we probably don't understand the budgeting process, but let me try something here. Take a little bit different tact. I wondered why we are holding another town budget referendum on May 23rd, which I really think is a bit premature. And as we know, that only reduces the town budget by another $150,000 in total. Because it turns out that the Board of Education actually has a substantial surplus, which we think may be the case. And if those figures are known on or about May 21st, shouldn't we be reflecting that surplus back into the town's overall budget? And then look at the overall picture all over again and see where we are?
Did you hear what I just said?
Yes.
Okay. That's the answer.
But what we already had out there as part of the overall budget?
There's not going to be, we aren't going to know what the audited surplus for the Board of Education is anywhere nearly in time to affect 2012-2013's operating budget. Because we can't add to our budget. The way we find out every year, after the auditors come in, do their audit, and tell us what the audited surplus is.
Probably around the end of the year. Fiscal. And you know, I think it's half of the year, probably the next quarter.
Folks, nobody's hiding any surpluses from anybody. It's all in the financials, it's all in the audit. We take all of this information into consideration when we meet hours and hours and hours every winter to put together a proposed budget. Who's next? Come on up, sir.
I just want to real quick. What time last
You
year?
have to identify yourself, sir.
You have to tell us.
Okay, I better
Stand up and identify yourself, please.
Okay. My name is Charles McAvoy. You want my address?
That'd be helpful.
Okay, 218 Airline Road. In light of these questions, what time last year did you want to come in? And is this a historical thing that every year comes in about the same time?
Yeah.
Okay, so it always comes in around the end of the year.
September, October, I guess, you know,
Somewhere around there.
So that's different.
The audited,
well, I don't know
at
what
the
the,
end of the fiscal year, which is June 3rd, there's approximately 60 days hiatus for outstanding things to be taken care of. So really, you're talking about the beginning of September before the auditors can even begin to come in.
Okay, and this goes out in
And it goes on, and then once they usually have the documentation stay finished around the end of December.
And
This
this,
last year was December 13th.
December 4th.
and this is how it is every year.
That's how it is every year.
After that, into the next fiscal year, the fiscal 14, goes to the undesignated, and then it reduces capital the next year.
Vince Domino, 161 East Main. On the heels of Mr. Farmer's comment, I believe at the March 5th meeting of the Board of Education, they were informed that the Finance Director, Kevin Kane, who is tracking the fiscal status of the town throughout the year, is projecting at $650,000 surplus or more. And my question is, I spoke with the Chief Financial Officer for the State of Connecticut Department of Education, and he said that those funds, it's mandatory that they be returned to the town, which I think we've had some dispute about that in the past, but I can tell you that straight from the State of Connecticut Chief Financial Officer, those funds must be returned to the town. So in planning the budget for this coming year, and you've got a $15 million town budget, why not plan on the $650,000 surplus coming back to the town, using it towards your expenses, because certainly you'll receive it before the fiscal year is over and before you need it. And why put it on the backs of the taxpayers and raise the mill rate when in fact if you use that $650,000 figure, your mill rate won't go up at all. And by the way, I'd like to commend you on the cuts that you did find, in particular the police department did a really good job of evaluating line by line and coming up and finding out. They evaluated their salary differentials as a result of some retirements and some replacements. So that's my question. Why not just do it the same way that any business would? You know you've got this revenue coming in, let's say it's in the third quarter, and it's a very small percentage of what your overall budget is. And let's say it comes in a little bit less than that, because you have to set the budget now, of course. But you've got millions in the undesignated fund that if necessary, and right now we don't think it would be necessary, we can make that allocation from there.
Okay. We don't know what the audited surplus is. I think that's the third time I've said it. We don't know what it is. As we sit here tonight, we're looking at a $14,898,814. We don't deal with the woulda, shouldas, couldas. We deal with what the information is in front of us. There are a lot of moving parts, and we do our best to try to slog through it all and convey that information to the taxpayers. Historically, what the Board of Ed surplus is used for is to defray capital expenses that the Board of Education has. If you look at prior budgets over the last 3 to 5 years, you'll see that the Board of Education's capital expenditures are low. And they're low because with the endorsement of the Board of Finance, they have used operating surplus to defray capital expenses. That way, for example, in this year's proposed budget, instead of having a $1.3 million or $1.4 million capital line item, we have a $534,000 or $562,000 line item. So there is a realized savings on the town budget by letting the Board of Education use their operating surplus to make capital improvements. Now, do we know that revenue is coming in? Projected in my line of business means estimated. Estimated is an educated guess. An educated guess is not the way we budget. It just isn't, no matter what you read, no matter what you hear. So we're not really here to talk about this rumor of a $650,000 budget surplus on the Board of Ed. We're here to talk about the $150,000 proposed cuts from this budget. But I want to caution you that if you think that using that $650,000 or we're doing something nefarious by not taking that into consideration when we put together these numbers, you're mistaken. Who's next? Oh, Mr. Farmer, you had your chance. Mr. Dunn. One and done. One and done.
My name is Richard Dondero, 7 Grove Way, Clinton, one of the beach people. Just for information to begin with, although I was in Florida, I absentee balloted and I voted for both budgets. I didn't do it because of the 5% increase in the town budget. I did it because there was a much lower percentage in the school budget, and that resulted in like a 1.4 increase in the mill rate, and I thought that was somewhat acceptable. However, the town can't, the people in Clinton, I don't think can afford 5% increases in the overall budget every single year, and I've been seeing that for years. And when Brad asks, us individual taxpayers, where would you cut? The budget's very complex, where would you cut? A lot of decisions were made along the way that make this budget high. And those decisions are the school, that's coming up. That's not in this budget, but that will be in future budgets. We had a fire truck, probably very important, but that's a big number. We had a $9.1 million bond issue, was the last year, I believe it was, or just the year before. And those are big numbers. And the way you cut the budget is, and I know there are people on this board, I go to a few of the meetings, and I know that, they're pretty tight with the purse strings. However, when these bond issues come up, they seem to, I think, they cave and they vote for it. Somehow you have to look at, what's a $64 million, for example, bond issue going to cost, locked into the budget in debt payment and interest over the next 10 or 20 years. That's high. Okay, and I don't think we can afford those things until we get a better income stream. The budget as has been reduced, which seems the mill rate increase is like 1.04%. Again, I can live with that. I'm not a fixed income also, as a lot of people probably are. I think that the proposal at the Board of Finance meeting Monday. I keep talking. The 13,000 on the library. I know they mentioned that, and everyone spoke in favor of the library at the last public hearing, and I wasn't there. I was out of town. But the library does provide a very valuable service to the town, granted, and the town also funds them quite well. I didn't know how much they did until I went to the meeting. It's significant funding. And I think that the $13,000 that was initially proposed for a cut was reasonable, considering that all the other departments, including the police department, took a significant decrease. It's just what you have to do to sacrifice. Everybody has to sacrifice. As was mentioned, the secretary in the selectman's office is going down to a meaningless job, so to speak. So everyone has to tighten their belt, and they have to be thankful. I think the library has to be thankful for the funding that the town gives them. That's all.
guess you'd consider me a friend of the library. My name is Nancy Coughlin. I live at 14 Maple Avenue, and I've been here since '88. I think one of the things that truly surprised me a couple of years ago, in fact, almost shocked me, was when I opened the paper one day to see that the library had put the little town of Clinton on the board, statewide and national-wise. Can you imagine a little library in a little town of Clinton? Because of the activity, because of the use of that library, we became famous. And it was on a tight budget at that time, too. And the budgets are always looked at, and all our costs are going up and being in households, we know that. I want to point out just two things. It is more than just a place for books. It's a place, you know, there's computers there, and it's like a community center almost. Socializing goes on there, all ages, from 3 or 4 years up to 90 or 100. There are programs there that I never thought I would ever see. We now have authors coming there, new authors. And it's open 7 days a week sometimes with the money that they had. I have a son, I should say we have a son, my husband's now has dementia and he's in a convalescent home. But we have our youngest son who joined the Navy and worked there 23 years, retired as a chief warrant officer, tops in his line with computers, got a tremendous job in Northrop Grumman International. He knows everything about a computer. He now works in the country of Taiwan on a communication for that whole country. And he said to me, his boys are on computers all the time. But he said to me one day, Mom, send me home the World Book Encyclopedia that you got when I was 8 years old. He had pneumonia and he had a tremendous bacteria infection at that time. And he was bedridden a long time. The thing he had to read was the encyclopedias. He ended up smarter than my husband and me. What he said was, I want my boys to hold a book. I want them not to be isolated on a computer. I want them to know that when they open a book, they'll never know what they're going to see. They do when they look at a computer because they pick it out. He said, I think this is important. They wonder why I'm smart, and I want them to see why I'm smart, because I had books. Finally, I want to say, I know it doesn't seem like a lot of money to you to cut from them, but as cost goes up, it is. And we sure would appreciate it. Well, I just go there all the time, and I've made friends, people, I'm in a club there right now. So I do appreciate it. And thank you very much.
My name is Len Freed. I live at 28 South Point Road in Clinton. I hate to beat a dead horse, but one more point on the surplus. I've worked on hundreds of budgets in many different countries, and what you always do is you project your year-end spending. True, it's a projection. True, it's an educated guess, but before you come up with a current budget, you project your year-end spending. And if you have a surplus and times are bad, you can sure that's gobbled up. And people don't like to project surpluses because they know they're going to, next year budget's going to get cut. But it's standard procedure to project your year-end spending. Now, if there's no surplus projected, I don't have a point. But if there truly is a projected surplus of $650,000, I understand that may change between now and the end of June. But if there's a projected surplus, it should be taken into account right now. Thank you.
I wish I had actually come prepared tonight. I'm sorry. My name is Tom Schultz. I live at 58 Commerce Street. As I started to say, I'm sorry that I didn't really find time to prepare better. I'm kind of speaking a little emotionally. I was sitting back there making some notes while I wasn't listening to what other people were speaking about. So I just want to talk about what I want to speak about tonight. So you might say that I'm maybe not that big of a friend of the library. I moved to Clinton almost 20 years ago, and the library was on Commerce Street, and for some reason they decided to move that library and put a coffee shop in there and move it out of town. So now it's out of town. You have to go across 95 to get to this library. I can't believe it. I don't know what happened. They seem to maybe get more books there, though. I guess I'll give them that. But I had made a few notes here. So I don't know if the board here has been to the library recently. Would you say if that's fair to say? Well, then you probably noticed that there are school kids and teenagers that hang out there. Like they have this big room upstairs, and instead of having after-school jobs or cutting their lawn, they're in there reading books and talking and making eyes at each other. I can't say I condone that. Also, I noticed that there are older people there often sitting. I can't even get at any of the computers, although admittedly I have a couple of computers in my house, but sometimes it's just if I want to go up there and kind of get something for free, I go up there. But anyway, you see people, old people, a lot of them too, sitting around on those computers, and and they're also looking at newspapers and stuff and all that. And the woman that sits at the desk, she told me that these people are looking for jobs and stuff. But then she's kind of annoying because I noticed that she's supposed to be sitting at that desk, but she's up a lot helping people, looking for jobs and so forth. But in any event, I guess really, I won't take all my points here and take a lot of time with all this, but my argument is that I'm not really sure why we need a library. The next town, Madison, down there has a library, and somebody told me, but I don't have a car, and it's in my day, we would walk, so I don't get that, and why we can't just go down to Madison and use their library, I'm not sure. So I understand, one of the things that you'll see is that if you go on the web, there's this website, and it's my understanding that this social democrat guy designed that website, and what a social democrat is somebody who thinks that maybe we all pitch in and help each other. That might be a good thing. But in any event, I understand that there are budget problems and that we have to figure out how to spend our money, but I'm glad to see that that guy put up on the website, it said in the top 10 libraries in the country, and those bragging people down at the library, well, good for them. They had to take that thing down because they were wrong about that. They're not the best, one of the top 10 libraries in the country now, because they can't be open 6-7 days a week, and I can't even go there on Saturday. Oh, one other thing quickly, and I'm done here. It's I went there and asked for a book that they don't have, but they can get it from another library, and they did that. But you know what? It took 2 or 3 days. Can you believe that? All right. Well, thank you. This was on the shelf. It's a book by a guy named Mark Twain, and there's stories in there about young boys cavorting with older Negro men. Ooh, that's bad.
My name's Arthur Cofer. I live at 45 Stanton Road, and I know this is not supposed to be a debate, but old people hanging out and young kids reading books is what a library is supposed to be about. the other thing I must say is that, and this is personal and probably will not affect this august body very deeply. It seems to me that every time we have a referendum on the budget, it goes back to the committee. They take little nibbles here and there. It goes up and is voted down again, and there's some more nibbles taken out. I'd like to suggest to this group that maybe what they might want to do is take a real bite out of the budget and have the damn thing passed.
Thank you. I'm Amy Hanson-Logan from 69 Shore Road. Oh, and Ruth Hanson-Logan from 69 Shore Road. Ruth just got home from college. She's a Morgan grad. What year? 2012. Oh, 2010, excuse me. She's a rising junior. They call it that now, rising. That means she's going to be a junior next year. And the reason that we're here is twofold, or actually threefold. First of all, we would like to see how many people are here because they are concerned about our library. Would you raise your hand? Thank you. Duly noted. And secondly, it took me, or it's taken me years to sort of understand the budgeting process in town. Not that I know it, I really don't, but I've been a little bit familiar with it, especially on the Board of Ed side. And I've always said to people who ask questions about the budget in April and May that you need to be asking those questions in September, so you know how it's done. And I very much appreciate all of the volunteer work that you all do and the Board of Ed people do. And I really would like to add another little thing, and maybe we can have a little workshop in September, combining people who are knowledgeable of that on the Board of Ed and the Board of Finance in town. I don't mean one that's a debate and it gets down and ugly, but just to give them a calendar of the process that goes on so that people can know, and maybe we'll get some more volunteers who will help us on various departments in town. So it truly is a process that's going to begin actually in July for next year. So I hope that we can maybe come up and try to figure that out. And lastly, I would like to thank you in behalf of our family, because we're glad that the budget for the library was not overly reduced, and we think that it is a workable one, and we really don't want to see it reduced any further should the budget go down. And believe me, a lot of people, Ruth and I included, will be working to, as we called it in California, go TV, get out the vote. Thank you.
Good evening. Why are we talking about the library? Sorry. Phil Sengel, James Vincent Drive. I'm not sure why we're talking about the library. If I look at this right, they're getting $723,000. Is that correct? That's correct, right? They're getting $723,000. I think almost everything short of, what, $3,000 of what they asked for? $2,000. So you're getting everything but the $2,000. So I don't know why we're talking about them. Secondly, most of us will acknowledge that the library can get a lot of people to these town meetings to support them. The New Morgan people can get hundreds. Others for education will come out. People will come out for soccer fields and all that sort of thing. That's wonderful. But these people up here should not be responding to public pressure like that. They should be setting priorities for this town.
based on the needs as they see them. Of course, they take input, but and I know it's tough. You got a tough job, and I wouldn't want to do it, not ever. But you need to respond to what you see as the priorities in spite of the public pressure. I'm not going to ask how many people here are supporting the police department, but it'll probably be, well, a few people are up their hands voluntarily, but it won't be as many as the library or the soccer or the New Morgan or whatever. So I just think you need to keep that in mind. Now, I'm going to make some of my conservative friends mad at me because I will tell you I voted for this budget, and I will support it again. Of course, you could find some more money here and there, but I like what Art Culver said. We spend millions on projects, but then we argue over nickels and dimes in these budgets, and it seems kind of backwards to me. But I think you did a reasonable job. You found 150K. Yeah, you could find a little bit, but I'm going to support this budget, and I hope the majority will. Thank you.
Next.
Thank you very much. My name is Kurt Carr. I live on Osprey Common South. I found the comments this evening very interesting. Some I agree with, some I don't agree with. Usually Phil and I agree on most things. In this case, we don't agree. The problem that we have is in 2009, there were about 500 people that came out and voted no for the budget. And then by 2010, it was 1,800 that came out to vote no. It's clear that the taxpayers in this town have finally said enough's enough. The taxes can't keep going higher. We have the highest tax rate on the shoreline, and that just can't keep going on. So I guess we asked how many people are here for the library. How many people are here because they're concerned about their taxes going up? So, I mean, there is a real concern that as the tax rate goes up, our property values are depressed by high taxes. It discourages the growth of business in the town. They go elsewhere if they can. So there is a real issue here that you can't just keep raising taxes to cover never-ending rises in expenses. So my suggestion is that whether this passes or fails, or whatever happens, at some point the town take a strategic look at its costs and try to find some ways to consolidate, find ways to find other sources of revenue from other lines, but to keep coming back to the taxpayers. You're getting a message, I think, you've got to get it sooner or later, that we're not going to just keep letting you raise the taxes endlessly. And the other thing is if you keep doing it, you're going to destroy the town. It will ultimately destroy itself and lead itself up. I think this new school is going to be a very big expense. It's been going along to get along, and there's a tremendous amount of peer pressure in favor of it. But it's going to add 2 mills to the tax rate. On top, and if the tax rate keeps going up and going up, and it's not abated, we're going to be in real trouble in this town. And I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, and I'm very unpopular for saying it, but someone has to say it. And sooner or later, we're going to have to become very sober in looking at the way we spend money in this town. Now, I'm with the people in the library. I was shocked last year when it was cut as much as it was cut. At the same time, I was really shocked when the library came back and wanted not only the money restored, but wanted an extra $60,000 on top of that, I believe. So it's it became a point of contention, and they did a very good job of getting people wound up about the library. And to that, I have to give them credit. They have to realize there are also people in town that are getting people wound up about the taxes. And sooner or later, if we don't come together and unite, it's just going to be very unpleasant. And I think we got to try to put some of this unpleasantness behind us and work together toward a common cause. I also agree with Peggy Adler that cutting this person's position is very unfortunate. I hope you can find a way around that, whether it's the $600,000, $650,000 It's on the school budget surplus. And by the way, if you think it's not a fact, here is the page for the minutes. Okay. Okay. So, well, he'd like for me to stop talking about the surplus. Anyway, obviously there are a number of people who disagree with you here, and I'm among them. So, anyway, with that said, thank you very much for your attention this evening and for coming out. It's really great to see people with a civic interest. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Richard Ofrio. Maybe you recognize me, maybe you don't. I've had a business, excuse me, I live at 41 Hurd Bridge. I was a business owner here in town for 33 years, owned Rich and Ray's Automotive. And I'd just like to say this. I didn't realize that Bonnie's position was going to be cut. I also belong to the Rotary Club. I'm a proud member of the Rotary Club. We work diligently with the town, doing things to make this town a better place to live. And whenever we have a function that has anything to do with the town, my first thought is, well, let me call Bonnie and see if the green room is available. Let me call Bonnie to see what dates are available. I can't imagine the selectman's office without Bonnie. I mean, I've known Bonnie since I was that high. We went to school together. And to cut somebody's job out and reduce it to 16 hours a week and put money, you know, I'm going to call it greed. And don't take this out of context, because that's not what I mean. My wife uses the library, my kids use the library, my grandkids use the library, but if I had a choice between putting $13,000 into the library or keeping Bonnie sitting in that chair behind the desk, I think you know how I vote. And as far as the police department goes, you know, having to cut their budget. I have worked with the police department the whole 33 years that I owned my business. I used to tow for the police department. I saw what these police officers go through day after day, the holidays that they work, the crappy conditions that they work in, and you couldn't give me that job. I was out there as a volunteer because I was going out there to tow a car and make money. They were out there because we needed them. And if it's a choice between cutting money out of the budget, well, for the police, you know, for the library, or cutting it out from the police department, or cutting it from somewhere else and giving it to the police department, I vote we give it to the police department, because when a burglar is breaking into your house, what are you going to do? Throw your library book at him? That's how I feel. And the other thing is, I also, the gentleman that just spoke about, you know, rising mill rate and taxes in town. As I said, I've been here for 33 years. I've worked to make this, along with other people, to make this town a better place to live. And you see my face out there, and every Rotary function, any town function, I try to get out there and support it. Well, after 33 years of making this place, trying to make this place the place that I want to retire and I want to live, we're finally forced to sell our house and move. And that's kind of what I hope for. But it's what it is. So, bear that in mind, because you got a lot of things coming down the road that you're going to have to pay for. We have a sewer issue coming up. That's right. Am I correct? We have a sewer commission. I mean, a sewer project coming up that we just keep kicking under the table. Somebody's got to pay the fiddler pretty soon, but it's not going to be me, because I'm not going to be here to pay it. I'm going to get the hell out while the getting's good.
Street in Clinton. I'm here to speak about the whole budget and to speak about our community, because that's why I moved here, and that's what Clinton does best. Clinton pulls together, and it pulls together for its families. I know we've had people that have come down with very serious illnesses. We've had fundraisers for them when we knew that they were having problems. We've always pulled together. There's a nasty tone in town, and right now, over the last few years, and a lot of this is because I know people are hurting because of the economy. I know there are a lot of people that are on fixed incomes, and a lot of senior citizens. There are a lot of people that are not on fixed incomes but haven't had raises for a very long time. And then there are, quite a number of people that, can handle paying a very small increase, which this town budget reflects. We're talking an increase of essentially about $52 per $100,000 assessed value on your property a year. This is very, very small. We're also talking about a police department has had no contract, no increases for 3 years straight. We voted down a budget last year. 2 years before that, we voted down 2 town budgets, passing finally the 3rd. And it's been a constant battle. There's not a lot to cut. Now, if you're upset because the transfer station is not open on, more days during the week, you're not going to get it open by cutting the town budget more. And there's certain contractual parts of our budget that we have no control over. Pension increases. We have something mandated by the state municipal retirement fund. The towns now have to contribute 11%, whereas it used to be 7%. There are a lot of things that we don't have control over. There's very little that we have control over. Every year, we have increased health insurance increases, we have fuel price increases, a lot of things go up. I mean, you know that for your own budget. I think people need to get reasonable. I mean, it's fine when we have excess, but people need to know that certain things are not in the town budget. This fire truck that was on the same page as the town budget has absolutely nothing to do with this budget. Nothing, absolutely nothing. The fact that some roads are finally being repaired so that children can actually walk to school or bike to school without possibly being injured, that's under the infrastructure expenses for the prior year. People need to be realistic. And, $52 increase per $100,000 of assessed value. 200,000. I apologize. I doubled that. It's 26 actually per 100,000. So this is not a lot of money. And I think it's lovely to just say no, no, no. But we're a community. We need to work together. If you smash down your library and cut it down so that we can't, well, it's a big deal. If we're underfunded, we are not in the running for competition with the other libraries in the country. We're less likely to get grants. And, we're also less likely to be able to keep the qualified people that are at the top of their game that are working in our library. You just don't, cut people's hours here because you can't keep the library open. and expect people to stay. If they come across another job, they're likely to have to take it, like everyone else. There's lots of things here that are reasonable in this budget. And I'm tired of people being really unreasonable. And I do understand people that are on fixed income. I don't understand those that are driving their Mercedes to their Taxpayer Association meetings. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good evening, my name is Tim Buckley, I live on Ferrydale Road. One of the issues in relating to the taxes, if you constantly hear that we're worse than every town on the shoreline, maybe you've heard that in the same voice over and over again, maybe you haven't. If you look at the current year adjusted tax levy per capita, fiscal year 2010, and that shows how we compare adjusted to every shoreline town. I'll show you that Old Lyme's at 3,800, Clinton at 27, Madison 3,400, Clinton 27, Old Sabre, they're better than us, right? Everyone's heard that over and over again. They're at 32, we're at 27. Old Lyme, well, of course they're higher, right? They're 31, we're 27. Westbrook, they're cheaper, we should move there, they're better than us. I believe they're at 31, we're 27. Guilford, 28, we're 27. Essex, 28. Brantford, 28. Haddam, 27, 9. Clinton, 27. Killing. This is the adjusted tax levy per capita. So if you make the adjustments and based on how, take away your mill rate. Again, it's your levy. So again, I think we do pretty well compared to other towns. And so that, I hate to keep hearing the town bashed about we do horribly and we're a terrible place. And that's sort of a concrete example of how you can make a fair comparison across the shoreline. So we do pretty well. And I think that I applaud, our volunteers who work hard to move forward on this, and I think they've done a good budget, and I think we should support them. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Jane Nettleton, and we live down on Waterside Lane. I didn't intend to get up here and speak tonight. Now, a couple of people have brought up this point about Bonnie in the Selectman's office. If Bonnie's not in that Selectman's office, I think you might as well close the town hall. The only more important person, and I hope you'll take this the right way, because when that fellow got up and spoke all about the library and us senior citizens lolling around and the high school people fooling with computers, he was being funny, folks, and I hope you realize it. I think some of you did not realize the tongue-in-cheek of that. So when I say that next to the cat, which is now gone from the library, Bonnie has always been the most important person here. We've been here 37 years, and I was talking to Bonnie just this past week when I went in because I wanted to get to Willie Fritz's ear, if possible, on a very important matter. Anything you want to do in the town hall, you go through Bonnie. She's always smiling. She knows absolutely everything. And she was saying, yeah, I think We go back way back together. She's been in that office, and she is very important. We should not be cutting her salary. I don't care what happens to other people in the town hall. She should get a raise.
Anyone else? Come on.
Rich Santinelli, Leffingwell Road. I too was not planning on speaking this evening, but I guess I'm the leader of the evil empire. I'm the leader of the board of directors of the Henry Carter Hall Library. I just have a couple of things I'd like to clear up. The town purchased that building for $1.3 million. The board at the time was able to secure a $500,000 grant from the state. They raised $340,000. We gave the building to the town, which they sold for $455,000. Unless I added wrong, that comes out to $1,295,000. The town paid $5,000 for that building. We may seem greedy, as some people call us. Last year, we were cut 15% of our budget. $100,000. The town was cut $251,000. We absorbed over 40% of it. We don't have unions to protect our employees. We have 5 full-time employees, 16 part-time employees. Our full-time employees took a 3% voluntary cut. Our part-timers lost money by the hours being cut. We do have money that was given to us by grants, endowments. Not one penny that the library controls is taxpayers' money. The only thing we ask from the town is operating expenses. We donate whatever funds we raise that are not restricted. We don't want to see anybody get cut. We did not solicit from Todd or Willie for that money to go to the library. Todd, you can ask him, offered that freely. Willie offered it freely. We're not the evil ones. We serve over 2,500 people a week. We not only have books, we have computers, programs. People come there to look for jobs, to research their family. There's a multitude of things that they do there. And for a lot of people, it's entertainment. It's a place to go when you're lonely. So, we don't want to see it cut. I've been in this town since 1973. I'm 67 years old. I still work full-time. But I'm a 12-month resident, and I make a commitment to this town 12 months a year. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jane Scully Welch, and I just have 2 things to say. 101 Grove Street. I've been told that out of your taxes that you pay yearly, $475 on the average household in Clinton goes to our police department. So that's, I'm not sure what the amount of house, the cost of your house, but say my house, I might pay $476 a year. I would pay double that. I mean, for our police department, that's not a lot of money for each of us. For the library, out of your tax money, $75 goes to the library. Enough said.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Chairman of the Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission for Disclosure, Conservation Commission as well. I donate my time to the town for free, along with a lot of other commission members. We give our time, efforts, as whether we agree with each other or not. We work very hard. You don't find that a lot in a lot of communities anymore. And the budget that you prepared prior to this, I voted for and was in favor of, and I'll vote for this one. Hopefully, we will be able to reduce any job losses. I don't think we'll find any more people to volunteer their lives for the community as we already found possible in our own. But that's what makes us a community. Now, I know a lot of the older folks are going to be retiring, maybe moving on. Fortunately, us people, we have to live here and think about what's going to happen 10, 15 years down the road. The entire community as a whole, in support of hopefully your children or grandchildren that might want to come back to this community, even if you leave. And I really feel strongly that we should stick together in this fight and hopefully work together for the proper prosperity of this community as a whole. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming. We'll close the meeting.